doing the same stuff you were doing before?
Yeah, glue ups.
Glue ups?
There's a sad panel.
Yeah, that's not good.
And by the way, you can see here the difference between a glue seam failure, which is here, and then this is wood failure. The wood, because the wood failure happens in the middle of a board. It doesn't go straight. So that's a glue failure. The fact that the glue failed actually is then what caused the wood to fail down the line. Because it had that leverage, right? I could break this board in half now because that glue seam failed. I'm going to remove this broken board about 2 inches, rejoint, and then re-glue, because I have the width. This is 39 and a half. I think final is 36 and a half. So I've got 3 inches. So as long as my repair is less than 3 inches, which it's gonna be real close, I can save this panel. So Broman's coming in today. He's working in the shop. I'm actually gonna be teaching him how to do panel glue ups from scratch.
I want to see if you're gonna...
Okay, if I can save it?
Yeah.
So this is a track saw. Track saws are pretty handy. It's really just a plunging circular saw that runs in a track. So the track makes it so that you go straight. I'm gonna run it the right way. By the way, when Jeremy was talking about cutting with the saw, that last Wyrm Lyfe, it's called a climb cut. Normally when you run cutting geometry, you want it to be cutting away, like you're pushing it in. If my cutter is spinning this way, as I'm pushing this way, the material is going into the cutter. Now, if I run the cutter this way, that's a climb cut. What's dangerous about a climb cut, and that's how I lost my finger. I lost my finger with a climb cut. Just a tip, right? That was my injury, right? What a climb cut does is if your cutter's going this way, it wants to go.
Like a tire hitting the road, basically.
Right, it wants to go.
Yeah.
So that's a climb cut. Climb cuts, because they go with the grain, generally give less tear out. It's dangerous for woodworkers, but it gives a better cut. Now, he is dealing with veneer, so the risk of him losing control is essentially zero, because there's no mass. He's cutting veneer. There's no mass to it. So he can climb cut with full control and also get a better yield, or a better result off the saw. It's a woodworking channel now.
Wow.
We only do woodwork.
Who knew?
No more dice, no more Bobby.
Whoa!
It's just gone.
He used to do woodworking.
Yeah, he used to.
So did you.
I still do. I still got it. Bobby, the poos is terminal with him. It's a terminal case of the poos. What I'm gonna do is kind of dumb. I'm just gonna let this drop on the floor. Theoretically, you might want this to be fully supported. I just don't care that much. So what I'm looking for, and I'm gonna keep going. You can see on this joint, clean, 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 dirty, right? See, actually you can see some glue residue. That means that I need to cut more. I'm actually gonna cut it on the jointer, but I am cognizant of the fact that when I did that rip, I actually didn't get this glue joint. I set my track saw slightly off. So this board, there's the flaw. You're actually probably, if you were totally desperate, you could actually jam some glue in there.
Yeah.
If you were desperate. I'm not. So I'm just gonna cut it out. Oh, that was not the cool uncle.
Have mercy.
Dude, the Joker uncle.
Yeah.
Fuck! Joey!
Get out of here.
Alright, cut number 2. So I'm gonna joint these edges. You can joint the edges any number of ways. The traditional way is to use a jointer, which is a jointing machine. And to joint means to
make it flat.
Flat. It's flatness.
Square.
So you need the flatness to then to make it then square. You can square on a jointer, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also, the jointer can establish. It can either establish one straight edge or 2 straight edges at 90 degrees. It can do both of those things.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm just going to do one edge. This is a jointer. I'll give you a very a very brief breakdown of what a jointer is. It's got two tables. This is your in-feed table, this is your out-feed table, and in between, careful, Matt, careful. That's the cutter. This is indexed carbides. So those are each individual carbides. You can remove and install a new carbide.
Yeah.
They also do straight knives. It's more old school, you don't see them as often. Straight knife is, yeah, there's just like straight knives across the whole thing that you can pull out and resharpen. Anyway, you have your in-feed table and your out-feed table. The out-feed table is slightly higher. See how there's no gap on the fence here? See how that's tight?
Yeah.
You see this gap here?
Okay, yeah.
That's the amount of material you're removing.
Got it.
And so what's important is that the cutter is co-planar to the out-feed table. So if your out-feed table is here, that's where the top of the cutter should be. The tangent of the cutter should match the out-feed table.
Yeah.
And then if you drop the in-feed table, it's a more aggressive cut. That's what this does. So this moves your in-feed table lower and higher. See, I don't need all this cutter, so I'm actually gonna pull this up because I only need a little cutter.
Yeah.
I don't need all the cutter. Tighten that down. Witness mark, just so I can make sure I actually cut everything. Nice. So that's a nice, clean joint ready for glue. That's perfect. Like, come over here. That's nice. Take a look at that. It literally disappears. That's what you want. You want it to basically disappear. This will work. This will be good. That'll be good.
Did you measure it?
I'm confident I'm okay. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for the viewers.
Yeah.
So my final, let's check the final. My final is 36.5 plus an eighth, so that's 36 5/8 roughly.
Hey, good.
So I'm at 37. So the surgery was successful. The patient still lives.
Nice.
Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some biscuits or dominoes. These are for alignment purposes. They're not for strength. It's just to make it so your glue up is easier. The challenge of when you're gluing up two butt joints is they want to go like this. So what you can do is you can install some sort of geometry into the joint to make sure it can't unalign. So here's what's important. Woodworking, it's all about the reference surface. What is your reference surface? Meaning, what are you measuring off of? If I'm trying to find halfway on this board,
Yeah.
there's two ways you can do it. You can do it like a nerd, where I would measure and be like, that's 82 and 5/16 point, and then like math calculator. Don't do that. Don't be a nerd. You just have to be close enough. 82, what's half of 82? 41. I'm gonna make a mark at 41. Now, it's gonna come the other way and make a mark at 41.
Oh.
Smarter than a nerd. Between these two,
Yeah.
you can very easily say, okay, that's my center. So you don't actually need numbers to find your center. You just need to have a reference off both sides and keep that reference the same. It'll find you the center. So that's how you find center if you're not a nerd. Don't be a nerd. I've already marked out on this where my biscuits are gonna be. I made this into a story stick. So I put a mark here, I have a mark here, I have a mark here. So that's marking where the dominoes are going to be installed. So I'm gonna be installing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dominoes. The way this works is there's a cutter in here. See the cutter?
Yeah.
It cuts. What does that cutter reference off of? The cutter references off of this plane. Yeah, this cutter is set a certain height from this plate.
Oh, got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So I need to make sure this plate, which is the reference for the tool, is matching my reference on the panel. So if I flip one of the panels and use this, there will not align. So, theoretically, that hole should be centered on this panel. Is it?
Not exactly.
Right, and I don't care, because what's important isn't whether or not the hole is centered on this thickness. What matters is, does it align with this one? The alignment matters, not the measurement. Reference, reference. Boom. Consistent referencing, not measurement. When you're doing the domino, there's two widths. You could go narrow or wide, right? So that is actually a wide hole. I'll make a narrow hole just so you can see. So you'll see this one, it's wide, right? This one, it's sloppy. There's play. This one is tight, no play. Now the reason you don't do tight is that would require absolute perfection. So you usually do tight, loose, and then you start the glue up in your tight, and then you're all wavy gravy. Hey, there's Mr. Broman, my training partner.
I'm here to learn.
Yeah, so's Matt. These are all on my tight side, so I'm gonna make sure my domino is set to tight, which it is. Click it on, it's gonna come in. That's my inside joint. Now I'm gonna do my outside. I wanna hit that. Thank you. Okay, cool. So, those are our alignment dominoes right here. Inside up here. I'm gonna do the dry fit without the biscuits, just to make sure I'm not getting myself into any big trouble. So yeah, this looks good. Just gonna set my clamps roughly where they belong. Cool, so I'm ready for glue. Okay, this is an escalation. Once you start to apply the glue, that is when you're racing against the clock and you fuck it up. Glue ups are where woodworking projects go to die.
Does that make you nervous?
Yes, I am totally over my head.
All right, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of love on all this. Enough is as good as a feast. Not too much glue. Enough glue. Not too little, not too much. You're looking for some squeeze out, you don't need puddles. There it goes.
Hey.
Make sure I'm good. So you always want to clamp, clamp inside to outside.
Oh, so you're gonna tighten these
I'm gonna
ones
tighten
up
these,
more?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not really tightening them. I'm just taking the slack out of the clamp.
Got it.
Just gonna make sure that it's flat along the base of it, right? I wanna make sure that I'm not like popped up. What can happen with these panels as you apply pressure is they wanna pop. Top clamping prevents that. So if I take this top clamp, that's gonna prevent that. And this is what you wanna see. See those little beady little bits of glue? That's perfect. That's a good joint. Clamping pressure. You need clamping pressure at the joint. Is there any clamping pressure applied to this point here? No. There's no clamping pressure, like literally here. That wood is under no stress. Clamping pressure roughly radiates out at 45 degrees from the clamp, right? So it's like every clamp you place, there's like a cone of pressure. So if this is my seam, if that's my joint, That's why it's important that this is relatively thick to distribute the clamping pressure. If I only did say this clamp and this clamp, yeah, I'd get really good clamping pressure here, and I'd get really good clamping pressure here. This area would be relatively unclamped, and it has to do with how thick the member is, right? So if you're clamping, if you got like a little thin thing and a little thin thing, you need tons of clamps. I actually do not need those red clamps because this is so wide. This clamp up here is creating a lot of pressure the whole way, right? But let's say this piece of wood was this thin and this piece of wood was that thin. You have two thinner pieces, you'd need a lot more clamps. Pieces of wood or material that you use to distribute clamping pressure, those are called cauls. C-A-U-L, caul, right? So clamping cauls are a way to distribute pressure. All right, Matt?
Yeah.
We saved this desk.
Nice.
It is saved, I believe. Let's check. Let's check one more time. Yes, we have a ½ inch left. I could mess up again. I could mess up again.
No, please don't.
No problem.
Get your dice and let's roll. It's time to lose control. Dice, palooza, colors everywhere. Extravagant, colorful. We ain't gotta care.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that's the only reason I. Oh, this is it. Ask about this.
Oh wow. Throw it on the ground.
That's how you break things.
Look at that. It's a little sticker.
Yeah.
Tungsten, like on the periodic table.